Welcome, everyone. I'm Steve Robbins, and I am here today with my guest, the incomparable and amazing Sam Horn. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you, Steve. We're looking forward to sharing some ideas your viewers can use immediately on and off the job.
Sam, for those of you who don't know her already, Sam, I think, is one of the world's best communicators. I have had the privilege of going to several conferences in which I would see that she was running some segment of or some session, and I would go to the session. It would be packed, standing room only, sometimes people coming out the doors. And as soon as the session was over, we would basically lock the doors and not let her go until she gave us even more. She's just absolutely fantastic, and I'm thrilled to have you here today, Sam. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Let's rock and roll, shall we, Stever?
Let's do it. So we are in the middle of the Great Resignation, as people are calling it. And a lot of it is about people suddenly discovering that the things that have worked for them or that they have been willing to knuckle under to in some cases in the past aren't working now. And people are looking for new jobs from the employee side of things, but people who are employers are also seeing and having to deal with both employees who are leaving or who want to leave and with new job prospects and people coming in. So a tremendous amount of turnover and negotiation. And these things are not always happening in the most compassionate styles, I guess, shall we say. People are not getting heard. Their messages are not necessarily coming across in ways that are respectful, in ways that are compassionate, in ways that are frankly serving anyone's needs, both the people themselves, in the case of the employees, or the employers as well. And I have a sense that you have something to say about this.
Oh, and your sense would be right, Stever. You know, you and I value being really productive. So, what if there was a direct way to make others feel seen, heard, and respected, and for you to get seen, heard, and respected? Well, there is. And if you've got paper, go ahead and grab some real quick. Grab a pen. Yes, I'm a Luddite. I believe in ink it when you think it. So, you got paper in front of you. Let's put a vertical line down the center. And on the top left-hand column, let's put words to lose. And on the top right-hand column, put words to use. And in our short time together, Stever, let's talk about reactions and words to lose that actually make things worse, that make people feel like we're not listening to them, like we're not understanding them, like we don't care how they feel or what they want. And let's replace it with responses and words to use that actually make that person feel, even if we're giving bad news, that at least we're doing the best we can to help them, or at least we care and wish it were different. So if that sounds good to you, we're going to rock and roll through some words to lose, words to use, so everyone involved can feel seen, heard, and understood.
Let's do it. I'm also going to assume that if we switch the columns, if we deliberately want to alienate someone, we can use this to do that too.
Oh, and why would we want to do that, Stever? Is there an end goal in mind?
Well, I'm just thinking, I occasionally get calls from telemarketers, but that's neither here nor there. All right, let's do it, because I want to hear these things.
Okay, so each word starts with a 60-second story, because then we think about where we may have heard that before or said that ourselves. And in real life, we can imagine the damage it does, and we want the alternative that will lead to better results. So first example, I'm renting a car. Woman in front of me says, I've reserved a Ford van, and they looked up a record, said, oh yes, we have your reservation right here, but we don't have any Ford vans left. She said, how could that be? I called weeks ago to reserve that car. I know, but we have a new, and back and forth they went, because the employee kept using a word, a 3-letter word. And when we use it, people feel that we're discounting what it is they're saying. They'll say it again louder next time. Guess what the word is, Stever?
I'm going to go with but.
You would be right. Put that word but. And now you may be thinking, well, I've heard that before. The question isn't whether it's common sense, it's whether it's common practice. Well, I hear what you're saying, but we tried that before and it didn't work out. You did a good job on that, but you forgot to put this. I'm sorry that happened, but it's not my fault. Every time we use the word but, we are pitting ourselves as adversaries. Over on the right, put the word and. I hear what you're saying, and we tried that before, and it didn't work out, and do you have any ideas on how we could handle it differently? I'm sorry that happened, and our accounting department handles that, and let me put you in touch with them. The word and advances conversations, the word but anchors it in an argument. Your thoughts, Stever?
Uh, now I'm suddenly going to be hyper aware of what words I use as we're having this conversation. And um, and as I'm practicing this myself, just as you're saying this, and by the way, for the people watching, I really am like I really am doing this. I mean, this is not just me being like, oh, I'm an interviewer. I want this for myself. Um, what I'm finding as I mentally rehearse this right now is that it's not even about the word. It's not about the meaning of the word. It's not whether but means one thing or another. But I think you can say two things that are even mutually contradictory. And if you just join them with and, they go in. So I could say, the world is black and the world is white. And that goes in even though it's contradictory, really differently from when I go, well, the world is black, but the world is white. And I'm like, well, wait, but like, you're right. Literally, the word literally just provokes either argumentative or agreement, regardless of whether or not it means something. Yeah.
Oh, Stever, you're so smart. One of the reasons I enjoy you is, boy, do you get it and run with it. You are right. The word and does not have to agree with what the other person says. It just doesn't argue with it. It acknowledges it so both can be true, and we move the conversation forward instead of anchoring it in an impasse, because the word but essentially dismisses it. And once again, that's when it's right, wrong, either or. And, improv, of course, says yes and, right? So the core effect of this is to make us allies instead of adversaries.
Got it. What if someone really hates you? Do you still want to do this?
There are times where, as you said, we deliberately use the but when we do want to discount what went before it. I know it's expensive, and see, even then, I want to say, and it's worth it, because both are true. It's expensive and it's worth it. I know this is going to take a lot of time and effort, and I guarantee it'll be an ROI for you. We can use the word but if we want there. It's just, I'm so habitually now into and, because once again, it creates a tone. A quick comment on that, Stever, before we go into our next word about what to do when someone makes a mistake or something goes wrong, is that a survey just came out about the two things that keep customers coming back. And is it the best price, the best product, the best location? None of those. It's whether people perceive that we're helpful and friendly. Helpful and friendly. We may have to give bad news. And if we say, don't blame me, not my fault, they will perceive that we are not helpful and friendly. And that's when they give the bad Yelp review. That's when they complain to our supervisor. That's when they once again get angry and in our face. When we say, I wish I could do more about that instead of nothing I can do, or we say, there's something that I can suggest. Now we're being helpful and friendly, and that's what these words on the right do. So even if the situation itself is contentious or challenging, the perception is that we're trying to move this forward and make it work instead of just shrugging them off and not giving a darn.
I'm literally in the middle of a negotiation right now, and I'm now trying, I mean, as in today, and I'm sitting here trying to think back about the emails and the text messages and the conversations, and I'm thinking, yeah, they said that, but they said that, but I think I think I've been a big but the last couple of days. And um, and I'm going to watch that, because that may be contributing to some of the friction that's going on in this current interaction. Okay, what's next?
Okay, it's a friend of mine is in charge of an association, and they're getting ready for their big first in-person conference in 2 years. They hired some temps to pack the swag bags. Well, she came back from lunch and she found that 8,000 swag bags had been packed incorrectly and incompletely. And there were some things over in the corner, brochures and some items that had not, they were going to have to do it all over again. She said the word should just poured out of her mouth. You should have told me, you should have looked over there, you should have checked it. And she said a couple of the temps broke into tears. And she realized that when we should all over people, we tell them, well, you should have been more careful. You should have called if you were going to be late. You should have told me you didn't understand. Even if we're right, people will resent us because they can't undo the past. So please put that word should over on the left. When someone makes a mistake, when something goes wrong, replace it with the word next time. from now on, in the future, and now, because now we're being a coach instead of a critic. We are shaping behavior instead of shaming it. People are learning from their mistakes instead of losing face over their mistakes. My dad used to tell me we can't motivate people to do better by making them feel bad. And the word should makes people feel bad, and it doesn't teach them how to do it better. So turn should into next time, from now on, in the future, and now.
So I should have been using and instead of but. Next time, I will use and next time.
Stever, in 20 seconds, everyone can hear the difference. The other demeans the other person. It keeps them from trying anything new because they're going to make a mistake. And if they know they're going to get called on the carpet and told what they should have done, and they feel so helpless for that, they're not going to try things new lest they make a mistake and get scolded for it. So if we want to develop our people, if we want to coach them, and of course you're one of the best coaches I know, then it's always about what we can do from now on, do it right next time instead of belaboring doing it wrong this time.
Sure. That's good. It's funny. I've heard a lot of advice to say avoid the word should, but it has always been with respect to oneself. I've always heard people say don't should on yourself because you'll just beat yourself up and feel shame for no reason. This is the first time I've ever heard anyone talk about using should with other people. That's good.
And it is the key, whether we're a parent, whether we're a leader, a project manager, is that things will go wrong. And whether or not we move forward depends on whether we set the path forward, talking about how we can prevent it from happening in the future, how we can handle it better next time. Now, quintessentially, we are once again shaping people instead of shaming them.
Cool. What's next?
Okay, next one is, do you have to give an order? Do you have to tell people what to do? Put over on the left the words you'll have to or you need to. Because, Stever, do you know anyone who likes to be ordered around? And when we say you need to get this back to me by the end of the day, well, you'll have to talk with Charlie. He's the one taking care of that. Well, you'll need to wait. We don't have our AV equipment yet. Once again, internally, people are going, you're not the boss of me, even if we are. And they resent it and they resist it and they're reluctant to take action. And they may comply reluctantly, however, inside, teeth. Over on the right, put the words, could you please, or if you would. So we're treating people with courtesy instead of giving them commands. Now, a 60-second example. I had a chance to work with Kaiser in Hawaii, and I went back 2 years after I did my Tongue Fu training for them. When I walked in, the receptionist looked around, recognized me, and beckoned me over and pointed to the words to lose, words to use template that was still taped to her desk. And she said, Sam, I'm really friendly. And I couldn't understand why people were so rude to me when I was so nice to them. Then I took your workshop and I realized I'm using all those words on the left all the time, especially since I'm the first point of contact. Someone asked me a question. Well, you'll have to ask your doctor that. I don't have, you'll have to take this to section G and get your lab work done. And you need to show me your insurance card, etc. I was ordering people around from the second they walked in the door. Now, if you could please bring up that with your doctor. She has the answer for that. If you could please take this to section G and get your lab work done. And it is amazing how treating people with courtesy, they're more likely to respond in kind.
Now that's interesting that you bring up that example, because when you first said you'll have to or you'll need to, I was thinking of that in the context very much of a boss talking to a subordinate, or I'm sure no one in a relationship has ever said to their partner, you need to clean the dishes in the sink or something like that. But I was thinking in those almost confrontational situations, what I wasn't thinking in the example that you just gave, having receptionists say something like, oh, you need to take this down the hall. They may say it very nicely, but you're right. When they say you need to take this down the hall, now it's like, great, she's shuffling me off on someone else. Whereas if she said, oh, could you talk to your doctor about this? then at least as I'm doing it in my brain right now, as I'm kind of simulating it, it feels more like she's collaborating with me in what she's doing. And she's saying, "Oh yeah, right. Let's get this solved. Your doctor has the solution. Why don't you go do that?"
Boy,
Which is
Steve,
a
once
really different
again,
energy.
I love the caveats you're bringing up because there was a surgeon in that Kaiser program, and he stood up and he said, Sam, in the middle of an operation, I am not going to say to the nurse, could you please give me the scalpel? It's like scalpel, stat. So, see, there are situations on the battlefield in the operating room where we give orders and people are supposed to jump. The surgeon, though, said, you know what? I understand now why all the affection has gone out of my marriage. It's because it's like, yeah, you need to pick up the dry cleaning on the way home. You need to take the dog to the vet this weekend. You need to call your mom and let her know we're not going to be able to make it tonight. You need to, and those you need tos creep into a romantic relationship. And once again, it becomes offensive because we feel like our partner is actually ordering us around, and that doesn't work well.
No, absolutely not. So what's next?
Okay, next one is, what if you have to tell someone no? Imagine someone says, can we approve this project? Well, no, we can't because we're still waiting from our board to pass it off. Or can we get this meeting started? Well, no, we can't because we don't have a quorum yet. Can I go ahead and take vacation this weekend? No, you can't because we're short-staffed as it is. Please put on the left those words, no, can't, because. Often, if someone makes a request, our first thought is, no, you cannot, we cannot, and here's why. And it's like a verbal door slamming in someone's face. Over on the right, would put the words, yes, you can as soon as, or yes, you can right after. Yes, we can start the meeting as soon as we get a quorum. Yes, we can get this approved as soon as the board gets back in touch with us. Now, I had a woman in a workshop and she did one of those and she said, I can't wait to get home tonight. I said, why? She said, I'm a single mother. I have 3 kids under the age of 10. It seems like all I ever do is tell them no. Mom, can I play with my friends? No, you can't because you haven't done your homework. Mom, can I watch TV? No, you can't because you haven't done your chores. And then she said, she does what we call stacking. You know the rules around here. That TV doesn't go on till those chores are done. Look at that room. Look at that trash. How many times do I have to tell you? When are you going to? And off we go. And she was one who said, like you said, Steve, this isn't semantics. When I say, yes, you can play with your friends as soon as you finish your homework. Do your math and let me have a look at it. Then you can go out and shoot hoops. Yes, you can watch TV as soon as you finish your chores. Take out the trash, clean up your room. Then you can. Do you see? She said it changes the whole dynamics of the relationship because instead of seeing me as the one blocking them from what it is they want, who's responsible for getting what it is they want? They are.
Right. And in fact, you're showing them the path.
That's exactly right. It is
Oh.
a game changer when we're dealing with people, once again, to transform them seeing us as getting in the way of what they want and framing it so they have the ability to get what they want.
Uh, now, how many more do you have? I'm just trying to keep an eye on time because I want to go a little deeper with this one, but I actually think I'm more interested in quantity rather than going deeper.
Okay, let's change. Let's have 2 more. Do we have time for 2 more?
Oh, absolutely. And actually, you know
Okay.
what? Just a second. Nope. I was about to say we're getting some chat through on the stream. No, we're not. We are getting spammed on the stream. And naked girls, I'm sure you're having a great time. We don't actually need to talk to you right now. So you were saying, let's do a couple more.
Okay. So over on the left, please put complaint. I mean, would we like to know what to do when people complain? Over on the left, put explain. We think if something goes wrong and we explain why it didn't happen when it was supposed to happen, the way it was supposed to happen, that people will forgive us. Guess what? They get angrier because they feel we're not being accountable. Explanations come across as excuses. So from now on, over on the right, put the A train. When people complain, don't explain, take the A train. A. Agree, apologize, and act. For example, there was a 30-second story. Gentleman was going to pick up his wife on Friday, go out to dinner and a movie. There was a traffic jam. His cell phone had died and so forth. He said he got there almost an hour late. He said he could see his wife pacing up and down the curb from a block away. He pulled up. She yanked the car door open. She said, "You were supposed to be here an hour ago." He said, "Don't blame me. I've been stuck in traffic all this." She said, "How was I supposed to know this? I didn't know if you were in some ditch somewhere." He said, "Get off my case." Back and forth they went, ruined their evening. He said, "If I'd known this when I pulled up and she yanked the car door open and said, 'You were supposed to be here an hour ago,' I would have said, A, agree. You're right. I was supposed to be here an hour ago. A, for apologize. And I'm sorry you ended up waiting so long. A, for act. And in the future, if I'm going to try and pick you up on a Friday night, I'm building in time for Murphy's Law, and I'll make sure to have my charger with me so I can make sure my cell phone is live." And by the way, there was a gentleman in that audience, and he said, "Why should he apologize? He didn't do anything wrong." And I said, "Have you heard the phrase, you can be right or you can be happy?" I think we can apologize when things go wrong, and it doesn't mean we're at fault. It simply means we're commiserating with their inconvenience. They feel seen and heard, and now we're on to having, a wonderful evening instead of going back and forth about whose fault it was that he was late.
Okay, so the agree is agreeing with whatever they're bringing up. The apologizing is apologizing for either your role in it, or it sounds like even just your perceived role in it. Just that whatever the truth is, they're perceiving they need an apology. You give them an apology, and then here's what I will do next time, or here's how I'll make it up to you, or here's the actions that I'll take to make it better.
Correct. Yes.
Cool. Okay.
And by the way, Stever, you noted an important distinction is that I'm sorry, when we say you're right, when someone calls to complain and says, "Hey, this was so-and-so supposed to get back to me last week. Hey, this was supposed to be delivered then. Hey, the price was supposed to be this." Many times when people complain, it's because they have a valid reason. They're not making it up. And when we say, "You're right, this was supposed to be delivered to you last week. You're right, that was the price, we agreed to it. And, I'm apologizing." And what happens once again is that people perceive we're on the same side instead of side against side. And one little caveat, there was an EMT driver who said, "Come on, there was a drowning, and we left within 2 minutes of getting the 911 call. And by the time we got there, it was too late. And the wife accosted me, grabbed me, and said, 'If you had gotten here sooner, you could have saved him.'" In that case, you're not going to say you're right to accept liability. You can say, "I am so sorry for your loss. And what can we do to support you? Are there some relatives that we can contact for you?" So sometimes you take the Express A train if agreeing with them will open you up for liability.
Got it. Okay. Yes, your vault does seem to be missing 14 or 15 bricks of gold bullion. Really sorry about that. I was on a bathroom break. That was an illustrative example for those of us watching that is not based in fact in any fashion whatsoever. Yeah, one of the things about explaining versus A train, I think it was a boss. I don't remember who it was, but at one point we were having a meeting and there was something that I hadn't delivered, and I was late for it. He said, "So, Stever, you're late for deliverable XYZ." And I said, "Well, yes, I am. Here's why." And I gave him the explanation. And he looked at me and he said, "Nobody ever got promoted for having the best excuse." And I was like, "But it was true." He's like, "I know. And nobody ever got promoted for having the best excuse."
Wow.
So up to you to decide what to do about that. And, obviously that has stayed with me over the years, because it is in fact true. Even if you have a completely legitimate, truthful excuse, if the thing was not your fault, typically at the end of the day, in some sense, it doesn't matter, because if someone's counting on you for something and you don't deliver it, whether you don't deliver it and it's your fault, or you don't deliver it and it's some other person's fault, or it's, your car broke down, at the end of the day, from the other person's perspective, you still didn't deliver it. And
Boy.
it's,
Stever, you are going to the core of tone and perception. And as you say, you had a legitimate explanation, and you perceived that by giving that, they would go, "Oh, I understand now, and it's all better." And instead, it came across as an excuse, and it was dismissed. So you are right that the question is, will our response help or hurt? That's what we're trying to do, is to respond in a way that creates cooperation rather than conflict. So do we have time for one more?
One more. Let's do it.
Okay, let's put over on the left accusation. What if someone makes an accusation that's untrue or unfair or unkind? Over on the left, whatever you do, do not deny it or defend it. Because if someone says, "You women are so emotional," and we say, "We're not emotional," now we are. If someone says, "Now don't get mad," "I am not mad," now we are. So if someone says, "You don't care about your customers," we do too care about our customers. Now we're arguing with our customers about whether we care about our customers. So denying or defending a negative accusation actually reinforces it. Over on the right, we're going to Don Draper it. And I'll give you an example. Don Draper said, "If you don't like what's being said, change the conversation." So here's the example. I'm speaking for a women's development conference. And in the Q&A, a woman put her hand up and she said, "Why are women so catty to each other?" I'd heard this question enough, and I figured it was time to Don Draper it. And I said, "Ladies, let's agree. We are never going to ask or answer that question again, because every time we do, we reinforce that stereotype. So instead, if someone asks or says some version of that, we change the conversation. You know what I found? Women are real champions of each other. In fact, I wouldn't have this job if this mentor hadn't stepped up on my behalf. So if someone says, "You don't care about your customers," you may say, "What do you mean?" Or "What makes you say that?" Because they may say, "Well, you were supposed to have that special ordered book. I drove an hour out of my way, and oh, I am so sorry that you drove an hour out of your way, and we don't have it in stock. And if I can have your phone number, we'll," etc. If we ask, "What do you mean?" or "What makes you say that?" it often reveals the real issue, and we can address that instead of reacting to the attack. Or we can just reframe it and go on record for what we do want to be known for, instead of reinforcing their negative accusation.
So again, I'm sure that this has never happened in any real relationship ever, but I could imagine somebody saying something like, "Wow, you really blew up at me last night," or "You really didn't you really handled that situation poorly, XYZ." Um, um, Obviously, I have a specific example in mind. What a hypothetical example that happened to someone else. Um, how? So let's say the context were, "Wow, you got really upset last night and you didn't need to." Let's say somebody says that to me, um, and what I want to say is I did not. I was just being passionate. Um, and they say, "No, you got upset." um, you know, how would you respond to that, or how would you recommend that I respond to that?
So let's give 3 examples, including yours. It's like someone says, "You don't love me anymore." "I do too love you." "You don't listen to me anymore." "I do too listen to you." Argument, right? Is like, "You got really upset last night and you didn't need to." "I wasn't upset." See, it's a debate. It's an argument. It's either or, back and forth. So if instead we say, "Well, what makes you think that I got upset last night?" "Well, you were yelling, you were yelling so loud that our neighbors could hear." "Ah, you're right. I did get a little loud last night, and because I'm passionate about this issue and I really care about it a lot." Instead of, "You don't love me anymore." "Well, what makes you think that?" It's like, "It was our anniversary yesterday and you forgot." "Oh, I'm so sorry. It was our anniversary. What can we, you don't listen to me. What makes you think that?" "Well, you got your nose in your cell phone and you didn't even look at me." "Ah, well, let me put my cell phone down and give you my eyes." So do you see, once again, when someone makes a claim, if we ask, what makes you think that, what makes you say that, they often go to the specific behavior that caused them to come to that conclusion. And we can, and then either say, you're right, I am passionate about this, and use our word passion instead of their word upset. Or you're right, I did raise my voice because I have strong feelings about this. Once again, use words that we're comfortable with, that we're aligned with, because that's what we're reinforcing and reframing instead of repeating and trying to negate their word and perception.
That that makes a lot of sense, and boy, I wish we could stick around and do this for another hour. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I am sure that people watching have been pretty much riveted to their seats and have gotten a tremendous amount out of this. I certainly have. I have all of my notes here, and I'm already mentally rehearsing some of these. How can people find you if they want more Sam Horn? Where do I go for more Sam Horn?
Well, thank you, Stever. We're on LinkedIn, and so hopefully they follow me, because every week I send out a newsletter with real life situations and examples of how we can handle them more effectively. And you can also go to my website, easysamhorn.com, SAMHORN. My TEDx talks are there, my books are there. I've got some videos, hopefully, that you can watch and put into practice these ideas so that we can get along better with just about anyone, anytime, anywhere.
Cool. And I'm going to ask one more question here, which is, that's what we can get from you for free. What do you do professionally? What are the things we can hire you for?
Well, geez, Stever, thank you for that. One of my great privileges in life is working one-on-one with executives and entrepreneurs and organizations. I work with organizations like Boeing and Intel and Johnson & Johnson and Oracle, who agree with Jeff Weiner, who is former CEO of LinkedIn. And he said that communication skills are the number one skill gap in organizations today. So I love working with organizations and offering these trainings for employees on how they can use these techniques with their coworkers and customers. And I also work with individuals who are preparing a TEDx talk or writing a book, going to be speaking at the UN, or an important keynote for their organization, on how they can craft a presentation and a communication that resonates with people and that they're motivated to act on.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sam Horn.